Hey, hi, how are you? It's Crystal again. Welcome back to my channel. So, I decided to make Brookie, which is half brownie, half cookie, bread pudding with tart cherries that have been infused with black cherry bourbon. Black cherry Kentucky bourbon. And how I'm going to do that, because I'm going to let this soak up for just a little bit. These brookies have gone ahead and gotten stale. Like, but not horribly stale. So in this bowl, I have put 4 cups of milk. For mine, I used half regular milk and half lactose-free milk. 4 cups of milk, 3 eggs, couple teaspoons of sugar, because these are very sweet brookies. I made them myself with homemade cookie dough and box brownie mix. Don't they look yummy? Some of these can still actually be eaten as regular brookies, more from the center than the outside. I'll stick them in bags. And then in the egg mixture that I whisked together, there's also a healthy splash of vanilla. And what you want to do, although some of these I'm not breaking up as much as I should be, is you would do this with stale bread if you were making it with regular bread. You can make it with non-stale bread, but then you want to bake it a little bit to dry it out. Otherwise, the center gets mushy instead of custardy. But because I've never made it with brookies before, getting in some occupational therapy while I'm doing this. I'm glad that some of it's more stale or more a little crispy at the edges. Although some people like their brownies crispy at the edges. So what I'm doing here is gonna let that kind of get mixed up together. And then I'll put the other brookies in a bag. I've already got them cut up into itty bitty bite-sized pieces. And let this soak for about 20-ish minutes, if not longer. I'll let you guys know. In the meantime, I have had, because we had a barbecue with some friends earlier in the week. Actually, I think it was last week at this point. I don't know what day is it. No, I think it was still this week. Let that soak. But I had made personal cheesecakes. If you couldn't hear that because of the water, I said I made personal cheesecakes. And I'd gotten 3 different toppings of the pie filling. And one of them was cherries, and I only used half a can of each because they had the big cans instead of the little cans. So what I did is I took 1/3 of a cup and called for 1/4 in the recipe I glanced at for a different type of bread pudding. I decided because this, even though they're tart cherries, it has a more sweet taste to it than dried cherries would. I decided to use 1/3 of a cup, and it's been sitting in here. Stirred up and infusing for like an hour, hour and a half. By the time this is done soaking, that should be ready, and I'll get back with you guys. Okay, so it's been about 40 minutes. This is like all soaked up. The pan is severely, what's it called? Buttered? Sprayed buttered. Thank you, Hopi. Pouring the cherries in. And of course it says in the recipe, if you're using dried ones, Feel free to use the juice afterwards in the recipe. Well, I wasn't using dried ones anyway.
It looks like blood.
I'm mixing blood in? Yeah. It's got bourbon whiskey in there.
Is it going to be grody?
No.
What is it?
It's the Brookie's being turned into bread pudding.
Oh.
And I've decided to put these in here as well because the other ones broke down a little more than I wanted them to. I like bread pudding.
It's okay. People have different tastes.
And I'm going to pour it in the thing. And we're going to wait for the oven to come up to temperature and cook it for about 45 minutes. Whoa. It looks like we're going to stick a baking pan underneath that. Pour a little bit much in there. And then in the oven for 45 minutes. Well, once the oven's at temperature, 45 minutes. Not your leg.
Yeah.
Let's not burn your leg. Thank you, Hopi. Don't tip it your way, don't tip it your way. Making a mess, making a mess, making a mess. Look at us cooking without making a mess. Now we'll see how that looks when I come back. Okay, so it went about 45 minutes. The center's still slightly jiggly, which is what you kind of want. It's so skishy, even though the top looks like it's burnt. It's not when you poke it. It looks like, ready, set, that. Which doesn't look amazing. I know this. Plus, you know, it's in shadow at the moment, so it looks darker. However, I'm going to make some bourbon chocolate sauce to go with it later. And we're going to eat it after we have chicken enchiladas. So when I cut into it and make the bourbon chocolate sauce for it, I'll show you guys how to make the bourbon chocolate sauce. And then when I cut into it, you'll see, and we'll show that it's nummy. I'm not sick. I have a migraine. Okay, so I'm making the bourbon chocolate sauce. Chocolate bourbon sauce, however you want to put it. And in this pot, which is way bigger than you need to have, I've got about 2 cups of milk in here. I'm currently using lactose free, but you can use whatever type of milk you want. You're making a decadent tasting dessert. If all you usually drink is like skim milk, maybe add some butter in there. But I threw in about a tablespoon of real vanilla extract, about a tablespoon of sugar, because this is going to be really sugary because it's brownie and cookie on top of the custard, and about a teaspoon and a half of vanilla powder. I'm just going to bring that up to a warmer temperature because it's still not hot, like warm. I was just stirring all the sugar in there. At that point, I'm going to add, I chose milk chocolate instead of semi-sweet. Just some milk chocolate chips, a little at a time. Melt it in there while it's going till thoroughly incorporated, till it's chocolatey enough. And then I'm going to take about a shot of this after I turn it off and just mix it in. You can add, you don't have to add it. You can add half a shot if you like it really, really bourbony. You could go up to about 2 shots, but it'll probably break your chocolate at that point. So, putting chocolate or anything with dairy along with your alcohol, if you're going to chill it afterwards, can be very complicated. Making it like a bourbon ice cream, there's a lot less bourbon in there than you think. A lot of things that use bourbon in cooking, there's a lot less bourbon in there than you think. A lot of desserts especially. Or just, it'll go with it, and I'm making it decadent. And this is still warm because I heated it back up after I made the green enchiladas. And I covered it, so now it's sitting here just like, ooh, nice and toasty warm, but I can touch it. And I start stirring and my camera started again. Well, hello, camera. It's not even warm yet. I think I'm going to turn the camera off in the meantime, because it's still cold. A little tip for this bit is don't rush this process. It's melting in my hands. My hands are that warm. See, I just put that on my hand before I started, or in my hand before I started the video back up. I only have the heat on medium. It's just now starting to melt the chocolate. Don't rush this. Don't get in a hurry. Take your time. That's why I don't have the camera going the entire time, because this is going to take several minutes. If you rush it, you're going to burn your chocolate or scald your milk, and that is not what you're going for. Hobie is currently drinking a cup of hot chocolate, because that's basically what this is. It has not cooked down to a chocolate sauce yet. And I have not added the bourbon yet.
It's amazing.
She's no longer going to settle for Swiss Miss, folks. But I took a cup out for her, because I haven't thickened it up yet. Which, just cook it until enough evaporates. Reduce it. Happiness in a cup. And now I'm going to add my bourbon. I'm going to start with half of a shot when I find the actual shot glass at the moment. Not because I don't think that this will handle a full shot, but because we might as well make sure we don't overpower it. It's a little over half a shot, so we won't put all of it in. Smells amazing. I'm not going to reduce this. I'm going to drizzle it just like this on it. And that way, when Martin gets home, if Martin would like a cup of hot chocolate, I can just warm it up. A little bit under a shot. God, that bourbon's good. Incorporate, make sure it's off the heat. Cut yourself a slice of your bread pudding and drizzle, which I'm about to do. Get off the heat first. I have an electric stove that will get hot. Whipping your beans, you won't get too far. Ow. Da-da. We're going to reprimands and doctors. Bright and beaming. Seats of spinning. I get the bowl instead of a plate. Oh, so custardy. To give it a couple, I don't like the corner pieces. I'm not very much of a crust person, so I don't like corner pieces. And this one's very, very custardy at the moment, which is just fine. I happen to like it custardy. Not everybody does. Look in your finger, get you started. Very quiet. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Shimmy, shimmy, Cocoa Pop, shimmy, shimmy, meow. I have a third of a cup measure in my hand. I'm not even using half of it. We'll tuck that in the bottom of this pan for the moment. Get myself a bite of the pudding with one of the cherries and some of that sauce. Mirror. Ooh. Mm-hmm. 10 out of 10. I recommend. I'm gonna go indulge. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again soon.